In this first Plain Talk segment, we will do our best to explain in simple terms the compelling economic and business value proposition that you can get from storage virtualization software. We all know there's a lot of techno talk and marketing hype and mumbo jumbo around virtualization. And most of it is focused on server and desktop virtualization. Yet, storage and storage networking infrastructures represent one of the largest components of IT budget today. Typically, it now accounts for over a third of a company's IT expenditures. Despite this, storage vendors have been slow to embrace storage virtualization software. And the reason is simple and obvious. These vendors are afraid of how it will impact their profitable hardware storage lines. They're afraid to make changes. Customers, however, need relief from soaring storage costs and storage arrays that have locked in features that are only available and applicable to their particular brand. More importantly, customers need storage to play nice with their virtual servers and desktops. Virtual servers, as we all know, consolidate many workloads onto fewer platforms, and therefore they need higher availability and faster performing storage in order to keep up with the ever-increasing number of critical applications and workloads being virtualized. Traditional approaches to managing storage growth are just not able to keep up with the new challenges of a virtual world. The world needs storage to finally enter the virtual age. Okay, let me admit right up front that I am biased. I am the CEO of DataCore and a founding member of the company. To me, it was always clear that storage virtualization software was, even a decade ago when we started, an inevitable proposition, since the economics are just way too compelling. So, in plain terms, let's remind ourselves that beyond the hype and technology, the real driver of virtualization is its ability to reduce risk and improve the economics of how we do business. With storage virtualization software, the same benefits of virtualization that have revolutionized servers and desktops in the last few years are now equally applicable to storage. Virtualization is more than neat technology. It is now a strategic business advantage. Those who don't do it will unfortunately be left behind. We will get into more background in the slides that follow, but to quickly net it out in plain talk, DataCore storage virtualization software takes your storage into the virtual world, and by doing so, it makes your storage investments more efficient and productive. You truly can do more with less, and it's a good thing when you can save your company considerable time and money and make IT users happy. Storage virtualization software is now a strategic imperative, but don't just take our word for it. This landmark Information Week cover story was an industry wake-up call on storage costs. It declared that it is time for an intervention, and it asked us to all rethink our model of just throwing more hardware at the storage problem. The main quote says it all. We've all grown comfortable with the server virtualization model, where you buy intelligent software and run your choice of hardware. Why then should storage be any different? It states what we at DataCore and our customers know is the fundamental and most compelling value proposition for virtualization. And that is, why not pay once for intelligent software and run it on the hardware of your choice? Let me take a couple of minutes and review the three main reasons why storage virtualization is such a hot topic, and why do you need to rethink the approach to storage. First reason, of course, is the economy. Companies are looking for ways to do more with less, to reduce the cost of storage, which now comprises the biggest component of their IT hardware spending, somewhere between 33 and 75 cents of every hardware dollar, depending on which study or analyst report you read. Either way, it's a lot of money. And as you know, hardware acquisition cost is only a small part of the total cost of ownership and storage. According to numerous analysts, the cost of ownership equals somewhere between 5 and 8 times the cost of acquisition on an annualized basis. So in plain terms, storage costs big bucks, and that comes at a time when cost containment is job one in most organizations. These economics are underscoring the need for storage virtualization, which has the ability to better utilize and reduce the cost of hardware and to streamline storage management for greater productivity. So that buying a new storage array doesn't mean that you need to hire another person to manage it, or to meet your data protection needs, you need to go out and get 2 more identical arrays to provide adequate local and remote mirroring to address your business continuity and disaster recovery planning requirements. The second general reason why storage virtualization has become the hot topic is the simple issue of storage capacity growth. What is causing storage to grow? First is the growth of data itself. While vendor and analyst projections about rates of data growth are often absurd and self-serving, the rule of thumb is that data grows at about 30% per year. More in some companies, less in others. Storage capacity must expand to accommodate it, though often storage expands at rates of as much as 3 times the rate of data growth, reflecting poor storage management and the need to have many copies to protect and replicate data for disaster recovery purposes. According to Gartner, storage capacity will likely grow 600% over the next 3 years as more and more servers and desktops are virtualized. This is a direct result of the impact of meeting server virtualization demands and the growth and ease of virtual machine proliferation. If Gartner is right, their analysis reflects the problem of managing storage capacity and the critical need for flexible shared storage infrastructure in the face of guest virtual machines that can be moved or change their hosts at a drop of a dime. After all, every potential host for a guest machine must have capacity available to host the data for that guest. In some industries, storage growth is driven by regulatory requirements around data retention. In healthcare, federal regulations require providers to store patient healthcare data for 7 to 10 years. In some state laws, that mandate requires data retention for as long as the patient is even alive. As long as we store everything on disk, the more storage we will need. And finally, there is data mismanagement. The Data Management Institute has determined that a lot of space, up to 70% of capacity on every disk drive you own, is wasted by storing data that belongs in an archive or is held back by the vendor or has no value whatsoever to the firm. Yet, rather than practicing archive and data management, we just buy more storage capacity. One other thought to share, it used to be that data storage was all about data, but in today's world, virtual machines are just disk images. And when you boot up a machine or motion it to another site, it is these images that invoke your machine. In other words, storage is not only data, it holds your machines, and the shared storage infrastructures are the new highway for moving not only the data, but the machines around in a virtual world. Bottom line, storage capacities are growing, and storage virtualization is increasingly being seen as the way to use less expensive gear without having to sacrifice performance or data protection. The third and most important reason why storage virtualization is so hot today is server virtualization and cloud computing. All of the server virtualization marketing over the past 5 years has gotten folks accustomed to the V word, virtualization, and its promise to improve hardware utilization efficiency. Hypervisor vendors repeatedly claim that virtualizing servers will take their CPU resource utilization efficiency from a paltry 17% of optimal to more than 80%. The marketing seems to have transferred over to storage virtualization as well, but the product solutions on the market are still too hardware brand biased and therefore lacking. On a more somber note, DataCore's recent customer survey and numerous industry reports have started to find their way into the trade press, showing that server virtualization projects are being impacted and stalling out, often when they are less than 20% complete. The big problem appears to be the failure of planners to anticipate the real cost of server virtualization, which are like, in the diagram, the tip of the iceberg. in that they go well beyond hypervisor licenses and new server hardware to include all the hidden cost factors, things like network redesign, and of course, the need for a complete overhaul of the underlying storage infrastructures, which comes about in order to meet the real performance and high availability demands placed on storage when servers consolidate their workloads. Few companies can afford to rip and replace their existing storage infrastructures or to redeploy storage assets in direct attached configurations. They need a robust shared storage model to provision, motion, and traffic virtual machines. With storage virtualization, reallocating existing storage to meet the high availability and performance needs of changing guest machine workloads is significantly easier. Virtualization is the key technology behind building a cloud. The cloud model assumes pooled resources that are independent of the hardware and easily available to meet changing application needs. Server virtualization makes it easy to better utilize, pool, and provision CPU and memory resources to applications as they are needed. Likewise, the storage virtualization software layer does the same thing for disks, and it acts as the virtual highway for virtual machine mobility. This logical fit with the cloud model and server and desktop virtualization represents the main driver and the value of storage virtualization software. What's interesting about virtual infrastructure software solutions is that we take it for granted that the hardware platforms have become largely irrelevant and secondary to the virtualization effort. If you deploy VMware, for instance, you don't really care if it's running on a Dell, HP, IBM, or Intel server platform. Today, that is clearly a secondary concern. And we have already taken for granted the business argument that the software endures and the training investment of people and process can be amortized over the complete infrastructure. We have learned that these changes of hardware at the server level reside well below the software virtualization layer. Well, this is exactly what DataCore does for storage. It insulates the users and applications and the virtual servers and desktops from storage-related disruptions and changes. Again, the hardware can come and go, but even if not replaced, it is constantly undergoing maintenance or changing with firmware upgrades and refreshes, etc. And all this can lead to disruptions and downtime, which impact all the applications, machines, and the systems that reside above. The DataCore layer protects you from these business disruptions and impacts. It adds performance and leverages the investments you already have in place and allows you to get value from them over the full lifespan of your infrastructure. Okay, let's net it out. The business case in plain talk is pretty simple. DataCore minimizes risk, improves productivity, and optimizes the utilization of your investments. In other words, it saves you time and money. First, the software works and leverages its capabilities across the entire infrastructure, not just on a single device. And as I have already stated, the software lives and endures beyond devices that come and go. This, by definition, is what it means to be infrastructure software and not a device. Similar to what hypervisor software does for servers, DataCore does for storage. It works across all your storage assets and extends their useful life, and it also extends your training investments to be applicable across the entire infrastructure. Our customers report up to 60% cost savings on operational expenses, since they get much greater purchasing power. It's simple. With DataCore, you are no longer at the mercy of your storage vendors, and you can buy whatever storage or hardware at the then current market prices. In effect, you remove the disk vendor lock-in, and you only buy when and what you need. You don't have to go out and buy the super big model to get big performance and high availability. Instead, you can select and right-size your storage to grow as needed, and just add more to the pool when the time is right, without ever disrupting users. DataCore software adds the performance and the data protection to whatever storage you have. Full utilization means you can get more from the storage capacity that you already own. Here's an interesting fact. On average, companies are lucky to effectively use 20 to 30% of their storage capacity. With DataCore pooling and automated thin provisioning working across all your storage, customers report up to 90% utilization rates. Yeah, that's like tripling your storage capacity for free. Downtime is costly. Think through what would be the cost of downtime, or even a slowdown to your business. Storage is one of the biggest factors in downtime, and it doesn't have to be. With DataCore, you have all the tools you need, from continuous data protection, CDP, to stretch highly available mirroring, all the way to long-distance replication and multi-site recovery. Best of all, you can afford to eliminate these single points of failure, and you can do it by leveraging the storage and the systems you already own. Risk mitigation is huge. Rip and replace is yet another way to say change everything, and that means increase your risk and spend more. DataCore lets you avoid the need to rip and replace. And finally, our customers and numerous benchmarks have shown that DataCore makes a big difference on performance. DataCore typically accelerates performance by a factor of 2 to 3 times, and that means you get faster response and more work done in the same given time frame. And that translates directly into higher productivity and cost savings. Add it all up, and cost savings and productivity gains make the case that DataCore is a sound business investment. It is not just DataCore saying it. IDC and numerous other industry reports have also come to the realization that a software approach provides major business advantages. IDC states, choose a storage virtualization software that is not tied to any one hardware vendor. Other white papers and research show that the combination of storage virtualization software along with server virtualization can greatly save on administrator and operational costs. The reports vary, but all indicate that administrators can do much more with less effort, and therefore storage virtualization software multiplies their productivity by a factor of up to 3 times in the amount of storage devices and servers that they can effectively manage. Another point is that server virtualization along with storage virtualization work together to compound and accelerate the time to payback and the rate of return on investment. This is a real case of synergy where 1 plus 1 delivers more than twice the value. Rates of return of over 300% and payback in under a year were noted in the IDC research report. Bottom line, study after study confirms that when you virtualize both the storage and server dimension together, the result is even greater cost savings and faster payback. Beyond the industry reports, the best testimonials are from our customer base. DataCore is field proven in the real world in thousands of customer sites around the world. Here are just a few select examples that cover just a sampling of customers who have realized the benefits of having DataCore virtualized and add value to their EMC, HP, Dell, and Hitachi storage systems, just to name a few. Please also check out our website and check out the customer case studies and see how DataCore customers are benefiting by having their storage fully participate in the virtualization transformation. In summary, DataCore delivers a compelling business case. It reduces overall risk by not requiring a massive overhaul of your storage and lets you make changes as needed when it makes sense. Further, it insulates your business from the unforeseen events that can disrupt your business operations. It boosts productivity in terms of more effective use of your people to do more with less through automation. It improves your uptime, and it boosts performance and avoids bottlenecks and slowdowns. Check out DataCore Sand Symphony V and how through its automation and ease of use, it can through a single click serve disks to hosts that are set up automatically to optimize capacity management, tuned to maximize performance, and eliminate the single points of failure to allow highly available data protection. From an economic standpoint, in addition to productivity and uptime gains, you can avoid capital expenditures and lower your operational expenses by extending the useful life of what you already own. Leverage your purchasing power by not being locked in on your choices and you can triple your effective utilization rate to get the most out of the capacity you already paid for. In simple terms, DataCore allows you to get a return on yesterday's investments, but just as importantly, it lets you maximize your storage resources, and DataCore's extensive set of storage features and services can be used across your entire infrastructure and over multiple generations and evolutions of hardware, so that you fully maximize the value of your investments well into the future. Thank you for your time. In the next segment of Plain Talk, we will continue and explore the challenges of managing storage and cover the important role and function of storage virtualization software.